रेडी? जब आप यहाँ पे डिक्टेशन लिखते हो तो ये सोच के लिखेंगे कि मैं एग्ज़ाम में ही लिख रहा हूँ। आप एक एक वर्डों को फोकस करके चलेंगे, तैयारी के हिसाब से नहीं लगेंगे, परफॉर्मेंस के हिसाब से लेके चलेंगे। ये 20 दिन है, हर एक वर्ड को, हर एक कंटेंट को अगर सी के हिसाब से आप क्वालिफाई हुए हो तो सी के हिसाब से बैठ के लिखो, जैसे कि आप एग्जाम में लिखेंगे, भले ही आप अभी सी के लिए तैयार हो या ना हो। जब सी की डिक्टेशन हो जाती है उसके बाद डी के हिसाब से लिखेंगे, 80 के हिसाब से, और उसका फोकस भी ये होना चाहिए कि मैं जो लिख रहा हूँ उसमें एक भी वर्ड नहीं छूटेगा और मैं बिल्कुल एग्जाम की तरह जाकर इसको टाइप करूँगा प्रॉपर वे में। इनको 20 दिन को फॉर्मेट को वही फॉर्मेट रखो जो आप एग्जाम में माइंडसेट लेके जाने वाले हो। ठीक है, रेडी? स्टार्ट इट। An administrator who is doing an honest man's job and knows that he is doing his utmost often does not receive the recognition that is due to him. In fact, he meets with criticism and courses and feels irritated and hurt. An able administrator, however, will always do the right thing and also make the people feel that he reflects their wishes. The sensation must come to the people that he is reflecting their wishes to some extent. When a multitude of voices is advising the administrator or criticizing him, obviously he has to make his own choice and function according to his own decision. He cannot listen to or agree with each of the hundreds and thousands of voices which advise him. But by his manner of functioning, he should make them realize that he has given due consideration to what they said and that he has been courteous not only to them but to their thinking. That way, by and large, he will be able to satisfy each of them to some extent. In administration, as in most things in life, it is not only what one does, but the manner of doing it that counts. It is exceedingly important in dealings with large masses of human beings, as in a democracy. I should like to stress this especially because it is of the highest importance as much for the administrator as for the politician. The politician realizes this in the normal course because he would have to go if he did not realize it quickly enough. The administrator, however, can continue much longer without realizing it fully, but there will be ill feeling against him and he will not be able to do his work adequately because most of it now involves the active cooperation of masses of people. The police functions of the state no longer dominate the scene. Each state wants to advance socially and economically. As a matter of fact, all public administration is bureaucracy in a way. The growth of socialism is the growth of bureaucracy. It is very odd that the people who shout most loudly against bureaucracy are the people who want more and more of it. That is what is involved in the growth of socialistic avenues of work. The administrator's work is becoming bigger and bigger. He has not only to keep peace in his area but also to understand people. Incidentally, the report of the director mentions a research project on local self-government. I think that it is of the highest importance that this institute should give consideration to the administrative problems of local self-government and even more particularly to those of panchayats. There are hundreds of thousands of panchayats in this country. They form the real base of our democracy. If that base is unsound, then we are not 100% stable democratically, even with the second base of our parliament. We are told that panchayats have not succeeded because there are disputes, there are parties, there is corruption and all that. It is true, I think, that our experience of panchayats has been distressing. But real democracy cannot exist at the top. It can only arise from the base. And in India, this is not something alien, but something natural to the soil. The fact remains that the panchayats are the primary base of our democracy and we have to improve them. We have to evolve ways and methods to combat function and corruption in public administration. To take an instance, some kind of compensation is often given in the villages to a large number of people, or some relief work is taken in hand in a village and some petty official is put in charge of giving relief or compensation. There are always and there will always be great delays in giving it. Very often, by the time it reaches the recipient, either most of it disappears or by then the recipient has suffered a great deal. What are we going to do about it? Are we to wait until everybody is thoroughly honest and will not delay things? Of course, we should try to do that, but we cannot wait. Suppose the whole village is gathered together and the government announced about the scale of the compensation is made in public. The chances of corruption will become less because the matter will be too public. This is a very simple thing, but it is not done. Why can't we work through simple methods? I have suggested that instead of summoning the people and making them come again and again, the official concerned should go to the village and call all the people, announce the government's decision about compensation publicly and say, come along, take it here and now. And where this is done, there will be no chances of delay. Unless some such methods are evolved, corruption will become a serious problem. Of course, some amount of it may continue despite the new methods, for its complete elimination requires higher standards of integrity on the part of the people. This has to be ensured for honest administration in India. I read yesterday that my friend and old colleague Jayaprakash Narayan has said recently that I should help, I forget his words, in stabilizing or in developing a strong opposition to the Congress. This is a very strange request. I believe completely in any government, what it might be, having stout critics, having an opposition to face. Without criticism, people and governments become complacent. The whole parliamentary system of government is based on such criticism. The Election Commission is independent of government. It is open to you, to any of you, to vote as you like. You know that there is no question of pressure or coercion. I do submit that we in India have a greater degree of freedom in elections and in things other than elections than almost any other country in the world. There may be a few countries which have the same freedom as we have, but a far greater number of countries in the world have no such freedom. We have it, and I am proud of it, and I am sure it will continue. I want every type of opposition to go and apply to the people. The people should decide to whom they shall vote for here. 1060 के आसपास वर्ड है. 100 की डिक्टेशन है, फ्लक्चुएशन 110 तक का है, 80 पे लिखेंगे। ये आपको टेस्ट नंबर इंग्लिश डिक्टेशन Test4 @ 100 के नाम से मिल जाएगा। इनिशियल स्पीड हाई थी, बाद में कंफर्टेबल थी, जो 100 पे थी। इनिशियल स्पीड आपकी 110 तक का लेके गए थे। दोबारा लिखेंगे, वो 80 पे लिखेंगे। स्टार्ट इट। आई एम हैप्पी दैट our young friends are participating in this work with full sensitivity and are motivating others as well. My dear countrymen, these days many experiments are being conducted for the education of children. The effort is to enhance the creativity of our children and their love for books. It is said that books are humans' best friend, and what better place than the library to strengthen this friendship. I want to share one such example from Chennai with you. Here, one such library has been set up for children, which has become a hub of creativity and learning. It is known as Prakarth Arivagam. The idea of this library is the brainchild of Sri Ram Gopalan ji, who is associated with the world of technology. During his work abroad, he remained connected with the world of latest technology. But he also kept thinking about developing the habit of reading and learning in children. After returning to India, he established Prakarth Arivagam. It has more than 3,000 books which children eagerly wait to read. Apart from books, different types of activities being organized in this library also attract children, be it storytelling sessions, art workshops, memory training classes, robotic lessons, or public speaking. There is something or the other to the linking of everyone. Friends, the Food for Thought Foundation has also established many wonderful libraries in Hyderabad. It's their endeavor as well to ensure that children get books to read with solid information on as many topics as possible. The Prayog Library of Gopalalanji in Bihar has started being talked about in many cities in the neighborhood. Apart from youths of around 12 villages getting the facility to read books from this library is also providing other important facilities to the people. Some libraries are such that they are very useful for students in preparing for competitive examinations. It is indeed very heartening to note that the library is being used in the best possible way to strengthen the society. You too should develop friendship with books and see how it brings a change in your life. My dear countrymen, I have returned from Guyana, a country in South America, the night before yesterday. Thousands of kilometers away from India, a mini India dwells in Guyana too. Around 180 years ago, people from India were taken to Guyana to work in the fields and for other tasks. Today, people of India origin in Guyana are leading the country in every field, be it politics, business, education, or culture. The president of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, is also of Indian origin and is proud of his Indian heritage. When I was in Guyana, a thought struck my mind which I am sharing with you in Man Ki Baat. Just like Guyana, there are lakhs of Indians in dozens of countries across the world. Their ancestors have their own stories of decades, even those over 200, 300 years ago. Can you be on the lookout for such stories of how Indian immigrants made their mark in different countries, how they took part in their freedom struggle, how they kept their Indian heritage alive? I want you to find out such true stories and share them with me. You can also share these stories on the Namo app or on MyGov with Indian Diaspora Stories. Friends, you will also find an extraordinary project going on in Oman, very interesting. Numerous Indian families have been living in Oman for many centuries. Most of them who have settled there are from Kutch in Gujarat. These people had created important trade links. Even today, they have Omani citizenship, but Indianness is ingrained in their persona. With the support of the Indian Embassy in Oman and the National Archives of India, a team has started the work of preserving the history of these families. Thousands of documents have been collected under this campaign so far. These include diaries, account books, ledgers, letters, and telegrams. Some of these documents even date back to the year 1838. These documents are full of sentiments. When they reached Oman years ago, what kind of life they lived, what kind of joys and sorrows they faced, and how their relations with the people of Oman progressed. All of this is a part of these documents. The oral history project is also an important basis of this mission. In this mission, senior people from there have shared their experience. People have expressed in detail about their lifestyle there. Friends, a similar oral history project is being carried out in India as well. Under this project, history enthusiasts are collating the experience of the victims during the period of partition of the country. Now, there are very few people left in the country who have witnessed the horrors of partition. In such a situation, this effort has become even more significant. 812 वर्ड है, 80 की स्पीड है. आपको टेस्ट इसी नाम से मिल जाएगा, @80 होगा उसके आगे. अब आप सीन कंटेंट लिखेंगे जो विद कोमा नो कोमा दोनों फाइल में आपको मिल जाएगा. रेडी? Started. Suggestions have, however, been made to the Election Commission that a Chief Electoral Officer appointed under the present system might find himself to be too much under the control of the state government, and that he might not sometimes be free to act independently in his capacity as the Chief Electoral Officer, particularly in respect of matters which have a direct or indirect bearing on questions involving a political complexion or implication. It has been represented that there is a risk of his acting as a mere mouthpiece of the state government in such matters, and of the Commission being deprived of the benefit of dispassionate and independent advice, as also of objective reports which the Chief Electoral Officer might feel himself debarred from tendering in the present scheme of things. The Commission is not unmindful of this risk, and in fact has at times felt that some Chief Electoral Officers may not have always been able to express themselves freely in controversial matters. It is quite possible, however, to minimize such a risk by adopting a suitable procedure in dealing with such matters. The Commission has already taken steps to ensure that the Chief Electoral Officer no longer acts or is even regarded as a limb of the state government, but that in regard to his statutory duties, he may act more and more as an independent authority under the direct control of the Election Commission. So far as he has to utilize the state government and act as a liaison officer between the state government and the Commission has always insisted that the Chief Electoral Officer must be given an adequate secretariat status in the state government example that of a secretary, joint secretary or deputy secretary. Without such a status, he cannot deal with the subordinate officials with the authority of the government and would have to go up to the department concerned in every little matter in which a government order is considered necessary. There would perhaps be technical difficulties in giving an officer imported from outside a secretariat status in the state government, in which case he would in the end prove ineffective in practice. The Commission does not accordingly consider it necessary in the present circumstances to depart from the present practice of appointing an officer of the state government as the chief electoral officer, and this practice should be followed. An effective answer to the criticism leveled against the present system would be to divide the duties and functions of a chief electoral officer into two distinct categories, namely electoral and administrative, and to demarcate the two categories as clearly as possible. In respect of electoral matters, the chief electoral officer would be required to correspond and deal with the Commission directly, without the necessity of obtaining any prior concurrence of the state government. The state government need not, in fact, be troubled with any of such matters with which it would not be directly concerned. If it is felt desirable or necessary that the state government's views should also be available to the Commission, copies of the correspondence between the Commission and the Chief Electoral Officer would be communicated to the Chief Secretary to the state government for the purpose. In respect of all administrative matters, however, the Chief Electoral Officer would function in full consultation with and with the concurrence of the state government. In fact, this procedure has already been brought into operation and has been working satisfactorily. In the light of the experience gained during the last 8 years, the Commission has come to the conclusion that the Chief Electoral Officer of a state should be a senior officer of the state government, preferably with the status of a joint secretary at least, except for a year or so during the general elections. There is no objection to his being a part-time officer, but in every such case, a junior whole-time officer should invariably be made available to him as his deputy. The Commission has noticed that many part-time chief electoral officers find it difficult, in view of their other preoccupations, to undertake tours to the districts, and this inevitably results in the loss of an effective touch between the chief electoral officers on the one hand and the district officers and the other election officers in the districts on the other. Experience has also shown that occasional, if not frequent, inspections of election offices in the district headquarters and the subdivisions have a salutary effect in toning up the efficiency and removing the working defects of these offices. Such inspections also afford a very valuable opportunity to the local election officers to apprise the Chief Electoral Officer and through him the Election Commission of the practical difficulties, if any, they experience in carrying out the provisions of the law and the directions of the Commission and the Chief Electoral Officer. Not unoften has it been found that a particular officer has evolved some procedure in detail or introduced some innovation. 840 वर्ड है, ये आपको विद कोमा नो कोमा दोनों फाइल मिल जाएगा। 80 की स्पीड है, केसी सोर्स है, 303 नंबर है। टाइप करेंगे जो भी अच्छा लिखा होगा, अदरवाइज सीन कंटेंट टाइप कर सकते हो आप।